What's going on, everyone? In this video, I created a giant base in our end dimension. Currently, it was looking pretty empty, so why not construct a giant base? This took me hours to create and contained around 115,000 blocks, so let's get into it. Now, this project had quite a few steps to take along the way. We needed 3 main blocks to construct the base itself: concrete, glass, and frog lights. And we currently had none of those. So I decided to take a trip back to the broken sand duper to fix it up. Now that the sand duper was done, we could make all the concrete powder we wanted. As you can see, we need a ton of blocks for this build, and now that we have access to infinite concrete powder, we just need to craft black and purple. Now the main problem we had was that the black concrete and stained glass were going to require a lot of black dye, and unlike the purple dye, the only realistic way to get a lot of black dye is to use our squid farm. However, we've been having a bit of a spawn rate issue. See, when I first made this farm, I didn't really drain much of the river around it, so I had to work on draining 120 blocks from the farm in all directions. And there we go. As you can see, we are going to have plenty of dye for the build now. Now we just need to let the sand duper run for a while. Collecting and moving these blocks to the end would be quite annoying without shulker boxes, and I currently didn't even have a farm for them yet. So I set out to create one. I needed about 2 shulker boxes full of scaffolding, so I ran to a jungle to get the required bamboo. Then I collected the 2 shulker boxes full of slabs and tried to figure out how I was going to get wither roses. I decided to sacrifice some of the pigs from the pig pen on Farmville for the greater good of the end base.
I'm sorry, little one.
Are you serious, my brother?
Alright, now to work on the farm. With the Shulker Farm done now, everything seemed to be going smoothly. That was until this happened.
Are you? Oh my gosh, not this guy. Oh my gosh.
For some reason, I decided to use my sword instead of my axe on the trader, and I slain my very first friend in this world. I took a break and decided to make a grave for Gret before I continued to collect materials. Rest in peace, my friend.
Next day, I tamed a cat and named him Gret, but I didn't have any name tags, obviously.
The next item on the list was frog lights, and I needed quite a lot of them. With this in mind, I created a frog light farm, which needed to house 12 frogs total. Once I found a couple frogs, I bred them and stole the tadpoles, then relocated to a savanna where I raised them and bred them until I had 12. While I waited, I built the farm to house the frogs. Then I drug them through the nether and into the farm. I finished the remaining parts of the farm, then sat back to watch the frogs do their work. Next up was the glass, and we needed quite a lot of it. I thought about using a super smelter, but mine was not up to par, and I didn't feel like building another huge one. So I decided to create an endless trading system at Farmville so that I could easily trade emeralds for glass. Once I finished the design, I threw in some librarians and started using my raid farm to collect emeralds. This actually took me a couple hours to do, and in the end I had around 4 shulker boxes full of emeralds. I came back to Farmville and began the long process of trading with the villagers. Once I finally finished trading, I decided to dye all of the glass and sort it into groups. Next, I collected the frog lights, endstone, and things like dirt, scaffolding, and any miscellaneous items for the base. Now, the only thing left to collect was the concrete. I started up the duper and I let it run for a couple hours to get the needed amount of powder. However, I still needed to convert it to concrete. So once I got back to Farmville, I decided to create a concrete converter right next to the villager breeder. This farm uses TNT duping to destroy concrete once it has been placed and converted by water. With all the concrete collected, I organized and color-coded all the shulker boxes so that the blocks would be easier to find. Once that was done, it was time to move everything to the end dimension. And now it was finally time to start the base itself. Starting off, I wanted to have a sphere center around the spawn platform that is being held up by a giant flame, almost like a rocket. I designed this flame with a pink, purple, and magenta stained glass to give it a gradient effect. I wanted to keep the theme of purple, black, and endstone for this build to correlate to the end dimension. I then used frog lights to light it up and give it the effect of a burning flame. Once I finished the flame, I moved on with the sphere. I wanted to make it almost like a fishbowl surrounding the spawn platform, which is a clue for what we have coming in the future. On the top of the sphere, I designed a small end biome with mini pillars and a slain dragon in the center. The main sphere was now complete, and I wanted to make 4 tubes coming out of the sphere itself, so I started on the first one. I constructed 3 rings around the tubes and gave them a glowing inside as if they were hovering around the tube itself. Once I completed the first one, then I moved on to the others. At the end of the tunnels, I wanted to create a giant diamond shape to connect all the tubes around the sphere. I then added lights on top to give it some shine. Once the connectors were done, I wanted to make a Taurus going all the way around the sphere and through the connectors. I made this glass so that you could see the walkway through it, and it also gave the build a glistening effect. I then added a bar halfway into the tubes to add some more lighting. And with that, the end base is complete. I've got some big projects to put in here, so stay tuned for the next couple videos. I do live stream a lot of my gameplay, so check that out for some behind the scenes content. And thank you guys for the constant support, and I'll see you guys later.